Who are some of the unsung heroes that will help propel the UConn women to their first title since 2016? You're Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever we get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, just want to take a quick moment to ask for a small favor. If you're enjoying the content here, please take a second to subscribe and follow the audio versions wherever you listen. It really helps the show grow, and I truly appreciate all your support. Every follow, subscription, download, it helps create more revenue for UConn NIL and Locked On UConn. Yes, is donating 10% of all revenue to Bleeding Blue for Good. So by supporting this show, you directly support the UConn athletic program. Thank you for being a part of this community. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. So this was planned from the beginning, but I did get some interesting YouTube comments about how we didn't talk about Ashlyn Shade in the very first kind of separate episode of Locked On UConn from the men and the women's side. But we're dedicating, obviously, a full 30 minutes or at least one show a day to the UConn women. And that started yesterday. And some of the comments, a lot of them on YouTube, were about not bringing up some of the players that we're going to talk about today. And it's almost like you guys are part of the programming and how you help. Remember, we're a big community here. I'm just a fan who's interested in these programs, who can bring some expertise to the mix and bring you some great people to talk through some really fun topics when it comes to the UConn men and women, and of course the football team and the athletic program as a whole. But the first person we're going to talk about, Ashlyn Shade. She is building off an impressive freshman campaign. So if you were one of the folks that reached out to me and said, well, you got to talk about her, trust me, some of this stuff is pre-planned. Ashlyn had an incredible freshman season. She appeared in all 38 games and started 33 of them. Pretty awesome. She averaged 11 points per game, was named Big East Freshman of the Week 5 times. She established herself as a key contributor early on. Her postseason performances included a 26-point explosion, career high against Jackson State, and a 19-point game against Syracuse in the second round. Her game against Jackson State was obviously a career high. The 19-point game against Syracuse were standout moments. Shade was instrumental, at least from a scoring perspective, but she was instrumental in UConn's Final Four run because, let's be honest, when we think back at that run, when we had Emily on yesterday talking about how, she had no thoughts that UConn was going to get to the Final Four. Just being completely honest, when they were in Portland, she said she didn't even pack for Cleveland. And I think part of that is because they were relying on players that who weren't supposed to be in the forefront because of all the injuries they had. So Ashlyn saved UConn's season just by being a really good player. And I know that sounds super simplistic, but just by being available, she was able to really kind of be instrumental in them getting to the Final Four. It's not just about Paige. It's not just about, who another person we're going to talk about later, which is KK Arnold or Aaliyah Edwards, who's now in the WNBA. So in the Sweet 16, Ashlyn she played almost all 40 minutes, 38 minutes of hard-nosed defense and rebounding, followed that up by another 37-minute performance in the Final Four loss to Iowa, where she contributed 5.7 rebounds and 2 steals. She was an absolute beast all year, and wanted to give her due and also talk about her first and foremost. That was in no shape or form pressured by the audience. If you're the folks that complained about that, you might have thought that you did that, but the reality is that was the plan from the jump. But on to the next person who I feel like was an unsung hero last year and is going to continue to go forward next season is KK Arnold. She's a defensive dynamo with unlimited scoring potential, in my opinion. She had a standout freshman season as well. She appeared in all 39 games, starting 33 of them, averaged 8.9 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 3.2 assists, an impressive 2.3 steals a game. That's incredibly impressive. Arnold quickly became known for her defensive prowess, leading the team with 90 steals. She showed an ability to disrupt opposing offensive just by being kind of I hate to use the term, but like a gnat and just kind of being all over people, but just being a nuisance. And that was a big part of the key during UConn's tournament run. In the Final Four against Iowa, Arnold filled the stat sheet with 14 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 steals. Super impressive against the Caitlin Clark-led Iowa Hawkeyes. Her ability to make plays on both ends of the floor is what stands out from probably most of her counterparts. In the Sweet 16, she added 12 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and 5 steals. Complete performance. I think that's one of the reasons why Geno loves her, is because she does contribute in so many ways. She's not just a shooter. She's not just a defensive specialist. She does everything well. Arnold showed flashes of brilliance against Duke, particularly in her ability to facilitate and defend, while also stepping up offensively when needed. Heading into her sophomore season, I think Arnold's combination of elite defense and the improving offensive game, in which she will be a key contributor to UConn's success in helping stars like, and I don't mean to put that in quotations, but I don't think people like it when I do that. I don't know why UConn fans are so worried about Paige being a star. She is likely number 1 pick in the draft next season. Paige, the star, AZ, a star. You have to have players that play a role. Every player, I had a gentleman on my podcast about a month ago talking about how everybody plays a role. Some folks know their role better than others. I believe the women on UConn that played last year who didn't get hurt, there were so few of them, really understood their role and what was needed of them. And I think they're going to take big steps in their development in their sophomore and in their subsequent seasons. But another unsung hero, we mentioned her briefly in the episode yesterday, not only just because of her name, but Ice Brady. Just absolutely a physical force. With a name like Ice Brady, it kind of have to be. She's returning from injury, and she allowed her to make a significant impact in the front court. She appeared again in all 39 games. She provided that critical depth they were needing. She averaged 4.5 points and 3.3 rebounds. Her season was highlighted by a 17-14 rebound performance at Xavier, showcasing her potential as a dominant force on the inside. I could see more of that this year. In the NCAA tournament, Brady had a key 7-point game in the Final Four against Iowa. I thought her best performance, though, was against USC in the Elite Eight with 8 points. She made her presence known in that game a little more, I felt like, than the Iowa game. I don't know if it was nerves, just being tired. I think she's going to add some crucial depth during a potential deep postseason run this year, and she's going to continue to recover fully from her injury. Brady is poised to become a significant force in the paint for UConn, complementing the rest of the Huskies in the front court. I think she's going to be their best rebounder, if I'm being honest. I don't know if she'll be their best scorer. I think that remains to be seen in terms of post presence. But she definitely has the potential, and I like Ice, and I feel like she's gonna be right there. So with the combined talents of Ashlyn Shade, KK Arnold, Ice Brady, on top of what they have with Paige Bueckers, AZ Fudd, and others, a slew of others, Sarah Strong, Ashley Zeibel, the freshmen that are coming in, others that we're going to mention. I really feel like this UConn team, which is the odds-on betting favorite to be the national champion this year, I think that's the expectation. I mean, Geno has a standard, and I know that he wants to win that 12th championship. And these are the type of players that are going to be the ones who are going to help him, not just the Paiges and the AZs. So let's go pay some bills. We'll talk about coming up. We'll talk about the glue gals, as I'm calling them, and some of my sleeper picks for really just two. For some potential big-time playing time this year, and probably some more developmental, but a couple of gals that I feel like are going to be really a good force for the UConn women coming up after this. Hey, everyone, it's your old pal here, Mark Zanetto with Locked on UConn. We're going to talk about game time. Are you ready to catch the next big Huskies football game or any live event? Whether the one that's coming up is this Saturday against Temple at the Rent in East Hartford. I've been using Game Time and also mentioning it to my friends for quite a while now, and I love it. Their new feature, Game Time Picks, makes it super easy to find the best seats at the best prices. You don't have to scroll through endless options. As I'm looking at the app right now, there's a super deal, lower sideline, section 137, row 5, top 1% value, $16 a ticket for 4 tickets a piece. If you use the Game Time app right now, you get a special offer for all UConn fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's right. Save some cash while you're catching your favorite team, our Huskies. Use Locked On College at checkout for $20 off. Don't miss this at all. Best deals for live events. This UConn team is a wagon right now. Go check them out. They're going to beat some Temple Owls. You know what's. And don't forget to use that promo code Locked On College at checkout. Locked On UConn with your host, Mark Zanetto, talking about the UConn women. Given how last season ended with UConn falling short in the Final Four to Caitlin Clark and the Iowa team that eventually fell short to Dawn Staley's juggernaut South Carolina team, largely due to injuries that plagued this team throughout the year. I'm in firm belief that if UConn made it to the finals against South Carolina, that would have been a really rough game. They looked worn out, and they looked like they didn't have much left to give. And it would have been an incredible accomplishment, but I feel like they would have fell short anyway. So you'd think that Geno Auriemma would want to ensure his squad is deeper and better prepared to weather any future setbacks. Obviously, staying injury-free with that luck, knocking on all the wood around you if you can, that helps. You can't predict, 5-6 injuries. I mean, it's just a wild brash of injuries that on the likes that I've never seen. And they still were able to make the Final Four. It's probably one of the more incredible runs and coaching jobs he's ever done. So I'm giving 100% credit. But again, elite coaches start to think about contingency plans because let's face it, this team has a lot of really good players on it, but they have to bring some players back from injury. So I'm picking Caroline Ducharme and Jana Alfy as my sleeper picks for making a significant impact this season. And I think their return and their ability to do so, because one really hasn't played for us in Jana, and Caroline I think can really kind of help and contribute when she's fully healthy. So she's been a key player for UConn, but injuries have hampered her ability to contribute fully last season. So when healthy, she's a versatile guard who could score from deep, and that's something that they're going to need. I know that they brought in some freshmen. Geno doesn't love playing freshmen right away, so having a redshirt junior that can have the ability to shoot from deep, mid-range, slash to the basket, and play some physical defense is something that I know he'll be very excited about. If she can provide that, I think she can. She's shown flashes in the past, especially in late game situations, and has the ability to take over offensively when needed. So in a pinch, you can trust her with shots. In a pinch, you can trust her to initiate offense on the ball and off the ball. Her return to health could be a game changer for UConn. Let's be honest, right? If they're 8, 9, 10 deep, the ability to kind of rest players that are coming back from injury in the tough non-conference schedule that they're playing this year, considering how weak the Big East is this year, with potentially only getting 2 bids, there is an option for our team to potentially get some really good players, some better experience, so that when we're ready for the tournament, they have the opportunity to come in and contribute in more high pressure, tougher situations like a Sweet 16, like an Elite 8, and not be like a fish out of water. So I think another aspect of her game is defensively, she has the length and strength at guard to guard multiple positions. So if you want to put her on a point guard, she has the foot speed. I feel like she does. Maybe people will disagree. I feel like she can really disrupt shorter guards' ability to pass by getting her hands in the passing lanes and having active hands and deflections. It just makes her a valuable asset on both ends of the floor. So I also feel like with a girl like Caroline, her leadership skills and experience will also play a crucial role in mentoring some of the younger players. So I am really looking forward to her coming back and being the type of player that Geno wants in a junior guard. But also, this is more of a flyer, because only thing I've ever seen of Jana Alfy is on tape, and she spent last season as a redshirt to adjust to the college game. She brings a ton of potential as a forward center. She's 6'5", which is just incredibly tall for the women's game. A skilled post player with international experience, which they love, as we'll get to that in recruits here in the next segment. She's played in Egypt for the national team. She has an excellent footwork, ballerina-esque, a soft touch around the rim, and she's developing an outside shot. So the older UConn fans will love this reference. She kind of reminds me of a little bit shorter version of Kara Walters, but with better footwork. Her rebounding and shot blocking abilities make her a standout defensively as well. So as long as she can stay healthy, I don't see that there's any way that Geno can't find minutes for Jana, and I'm looking forward to it. I think she can contribute, obviously, with her size and skills, and can immediately impact UConn's front court, especially with a year learning and developing in UConn's system. She could be really ready to be a rotational big. So again, that's more of a developmental pick. She's a freshman, redshirt freshman. If she doesn't play a lot this year, I think what she would do behind the scenes with them as a tall big to kind of help with, being a practice squad player. I'll use a football term to really kind of prepare those who are going to play big time minutes. But I see that I feel like she has the talent to definitely crack some minutes in this rotation. So maybe it's her international experience that draws me to her. Maybe it's the fact that she's 6'5". But I think in Geno's world, I think you have to go with the taller international players. I think he just likes them better. And lately, not necessarily that I'm guaranteeing that she's going to do this. I feel like she can be a sleeper. So with these two players, they represent a mix of fresh talent. I think they're hungry returning stars. Even Jana is a redshirt freshman, so she's been with the team. I think they have something to prove after their injuries, and I think their contribution will be key to UConn's success this season. Does that, if my prediction doesn't come true, does that mean that they're not going to win a national championship? No, but I feel like it could secure it completely if both of these picks are actually true to form, especially as the team looks to make another deep run in this NCAA tournament. So let's take another break and pay some bills and let me keep my job. But when we come back, we signed a very interesting recruit and have two more that are in the books with 3 potential recruits on the horizon. Let's see what UConn is doing on that front coming up after this. Oh, it's your old pal Mark here trying to get you involved in some betting. FanDuel.com. Yes, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. All I'm telling you is right now, if you are not a customer and you want to become a customer, use FanDuel. Bet just $5. You'll get $200 in bonus bets. That's for new customers only. Place $5 bet and instantly get $200 in bonus bets to use in any game. FanDuel makes betting super easy with all the latest lines, props, and in-game betting options right at your fingertips. How about you take a look at the UConn men football team? We don't have a UConn women's football team. I don't know if that'll ever happen. So the football team is a -16.5 favorite. I've been saying to stay away from that. I am not going to anymore. That this UConn team is going to beat Temple by at least 30 points. Temple is giving up about 400 yards rushing to comparable rushing attacks. Trust me, win some money this weekend. Thank me later. Don't miss out. Be smart. Have fun. Don't bet too much. Bet what you can. Let's make this season one to remember with FanDuel. All right, you're back on Locked on UConn. Go win some money with FanDuel there. As I promised, I sent a tweet out that I was going to talk about this in my Twitter feed. If you haven't followed me yet, go to @MarksNetOCBB or @LockedOnUConn. Let's dive into this recruiting class. One just signed today, but the first 2 have been in the mix for a while. The first one is, and really we're going to focus on who they are and what kind of impact they can bring to UConn in 2025. Kellis Fisher, a 5'9" point guard from the IMG Academy in Florida. Kellis is a dynamic point guard with excellent court vision and leadership skills, known for quick decision-making, ability to control the pace of the game. She fits perfectly into UConn's motion offense. Fisher is adept at running the pick and roll, which is central to UConn's attack. She's also a tenacious defender, using her speed and anticipation to disrupt passing lanes and create fast break opportunities. Kind of reminds me of KK Arnold in that respect. So she is coming in and she is going to have the ability to run the floor and manage tempo, which will be essential, especially if UConn continues to play at this fast pace, which when they're all 100% healthy, that's what Geno wants. She can contribute right away as a floor general and give those who are playing point a break if she comes off the bench, orchestrating the offense, pushing the team in transition. Her defensive prowess will also allow her to make an impact early, as Geno values guards who can defend well on the perimeter. One thing I always get, whether it's the men or the women, is they always ask, can they play defense? If you're a recruit and coming to UConn to play for Geno Auriemma or Dan Hurley, who have 13 championships between them, you better play defense. That's all I'm saying. Don't get it twisted. If I don't talk about a player and maybe their ability is more on the offensive side, maybe they're more of a shooter or kind of an all-around game. They've had this conversation that if you come here, you're going to play defense, you're going to give effort, especially on the women's side. Like Geno has talked about that. about body language and the ability to come in here and like they don't teach that. Like if you're one of those players, he's not bringing you in. So anyway, the second on the list, if I butcher this name, I apologize. Gany Malou Mamel. She's a 6'5" forward center from Gill St. Bernards, New Jersey. Gany is a versatile forward center who provides a strong presence inside the paint. At 6'5", another tall forward center, she brings length and shot blocking ability that will be a huge asset to UConn's defense next season. Offensively, she has shown solid touch around the basket and is continuing to develop her mid-range game. Her size and mobility make her a mismatch for many opponents, and her potential on both ends of the floor is immense. How can she help UConn in 2025? Malou Mamel's ability to protect the rim and defend multiple positions, like everybody wants, will help anchor UConn's defense. I truly believe that. Think about who we just talked about. Jana Alfy at 6'5", international prospect from Egypt. You add Gandhi and her together, defensively, could be a absolute, like, essentially what we saw in South Carolina a couple years back, where they had one 6'7" Brazilian girl who I'm losing my train of thought on, and then I'm losing my train of thought on both of those players. But I am 100%. I'm going to look those up. I'm going to pause this podcast and I'm going to look up those two names, and I'm not going to go without. See, this is what happens when you get old, but that's the beauty of podcasts. So the power of podcast, who I was trying to compare the two of them to, would be Camila Cardoza, not Asia Wilson, who's in the WNBA and is the best player in women's basketball, but Aaliyah Boston. That's who the two comps remind me of. In particular, Aaliyah Boston. That's where I feel like. But Camila Cardoza is, she's a freak. She's 6'7". You don't see a ton of 6'7" women play basketball that can do the things that she can do. So those are the two that I was reminded of. So I apologize for that, but we can fix it, right? So I feel like, again, partnering with Alfy will be a big key as to why Gany Malou Mamel will be a huge pickup for UConn, signed, sealed, delivered. And then today we had Bianca Quinones, a 6'1" forward from Ecuador. She's an Ecuadorian prospect. Bianca Quinones is a skilled forward from Ecuador who committed to UConn today. She's a versatile player who can score from multiple levels, combining strong post moves with a reliable jump shot. She's smooth. If you watch some of her tape, she is fantastic. She has a lot of international experience. She has a impeccable basketball IQ. I'm telling you, watch her play. It's effortless, making her a mature and fundamentally sound player coming in as a freshman. I honestly think that she is going to bring a level of professionalism. I know this is a college game that is going to be rivaled of any of Geno's picks in the past. She brings a toughness, competitive edge, and I think she's going to thrive in UConn's system. How she's going to help? I think she's an all-around dominant player. She can score. She can play defense. She's an inside-out player. She's going to get a ton of easy baskets. She's going to feast in the Big East unless conference realignment happens, and then she'll have a little more competition someplace else. But she's going to have a little bit of adjustment period, adapting to the college game. But I don't see it being that much of an issue. She's going to have a smooth transition because, let's be honest, she is an absolutely smooth player. And what a name, Bianca Quinones, fantastic, from Ecuador. Other potential recruits. We have Agat McCord, Denaya Prawl, and Laura Sampe. We're always in the mix for top talent. So we've already got 3 in the mix. So those 3 are also, were finalists in their top 3, top 5, and they haven't committed yet. If they were to be included into UConn's recruiting class, it could be potentially one of the best classes that Geno has already brought in, because Agat McCord, a wing from Monteverde Academy, I'm sure you've heard of it, is super athletic. She's a versatile wing. She's at a absolute WNBA factory, NBA factory in Monteverde Academy. She's faced top tier competition from the jump. She has a developed, well-rounded game. I think she'd be a great fit at UConn. I think UConn can make anybody look better. Geno's system is so conducive to athletic wings. The list is endless, starting with Diana Taurasi, Nikisha Sales, and on and on and on. With her ability and with Agat's ability, she's got, she can play multiple positions. She's not 6'5" and maybe slow footed. She's not 5'9" and has some deficiencies. She's right in that sweet spot, 6'1", 6'2". She can contribute both offensively and defensively. She is a perfect modern wing for what Geno's looking for. Denia Prawl, same thing. 6'1" wing. These players are getting more and more athletic as the years go by. She's a phenomenal, explosive athlete. She's an excellent rebounder for her position. She often crashes the boards and starts the fast break on her own. She has the potential to be a lockdown defender, which I know Geno loves and probably wants to bring her in just for that. But she has a quickness and a really big wingspan. Really disruptive force against top scorers. And lastly, Laura Samfe. She's a 6'3" wing from IMG Academy in Bradenton. She's got an interesting game. She has excellent footwork. She's more of a post player, but she can also step back and knock down mid-range jumpers. She's not much of a three-point shooter, but at 6'3", I don't think she needs to be. She has a high basketball IQ. If she gets double, she knows who to kick it out to and where her rotational wings are. She has the ability to play inside out. Defensively, her size allows her to guard both forwards and centers, so that's an asset. I think she'd be a phenomenal pick for UConn. So let's just see where those go. If UConn lands even 2 out of those 3 potential recruits, it could easily rival one of their best recruiting classes that UConn has ever put together in the NIL era. So I say that to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this show, there will always be 2 shows every day now. And I hope you're enjoying some of the UConn women's coverage. I know I am. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to reach out to me at lockedonucon@gmail.com or hit me up in the YouTube comments. I love the engagement. Look forward to tomorrow, and we're going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. We're still waiting on a few recruits on the men's side, obviously the women's side as well. The UConn women practiced for the first time today, so we'll get some quotes from that and see how Geno and the staff feel about the team going forward in the first day of practice. And we'll go from there. This has been another episode of Locked on UConn. Don't forget, I contribute 10% of my revenue to at UConn NIL. So if you love this episode, like it, share it, send it to your friends, download it, subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you stay locked in, stay connected. Make sure that toughness meter is always rising. And as always, go Huskies.